Hello, this is Jared. This is my comprehension lesson plan for Ed 633. It's going to be a combination of an overview and a little bit of sample instruction that I would be giving to the students if students were present. However, they are not present here. It's going to be a 7-day unit on tall tales. So we're going to review what tall tales are initially, give some examples. I'm going to read the students an example of a tall tale. They will answer some questions to work on comprehension on the board. They will then try to write their own tall tale that will be due at the end of the unit. They'll have multiple opportunities to work on that. And they will also need to come up with, to write their own questions for their tall tale. And then they will share with a partner, and the partner will hopefully be able to answer their questions, so they'll be getting more practice with the comprehension. Also at the end, if there's time, what we're shooting for would try to be able to present their tall tales to the class, so they could also kind of have some refreshers and some practice with some fluency. Okay, so this is how I would start out the first day of class. Can anyone give me an example or an idea of how the legend behind how the Great Lakes were formed? Does anybody have any type of an idea of how that happened? Again, we're looking for the legend of how they were formed. Yeah, that's good. So that is the legend. Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox, wherever Babe stepped, he was so big that he created the Great Lakes. Okay, can anybody tell me what that's? Does anybody think that's true? First of all, okay, no, it's not. Of course, it's a legend. It's not. Can anybody think you have an idea of what that's called? There's a specific name in literature for it. Starts with a T. Okay, it's a tall tale. And a tall tale is a story with unbelievable elements. Like it can't be true. It's far-fetched. But it's told like it is true or it is fact. Oftentimes the stories, they're either completely made up or they're exaggerations of real events. Something that would be completely made up would be Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. An example of one that is exaggeration would be something like Davy Crockett, killing a bear when he was with his bare hands when he was a young boy, or George Washington chopping down the cherry tree and not wanting to tell a lie. Those would be examples of exaggerations. Okay, so can anybody else come up with some examples of tall tales that you maybe heard of? Yeah, so good. You can have John Henry. That's a good one. Johnny Appleseed. So yeah, there's there's lots of examples about them. Okay, so knowing that, what we're going to be doing the next few days to week is working with tall tales, and you guys are going to listen to tall tales. You're going to work on your comprehension skills by answering questions about tall tales. You're going to be writing your own tall tale, and you're going to be coming up with your own questions about the tall tales. You're going to be reading original tall tales that aren't your own, that are famous in American literature, and creating journal entries about them. We'll start doing that tomorrow. And then we're going to present our tall tales to a partner. The partner's going to answer questions that you came up with about your tall tale, and then we're going to present your tall tales to the class. If time allows. Okay. To get you going in the right direction. So some of you kind of might be a little confused yet as to what I'm looking for. Um, I'm going to, because I want you to come up with your own tall tale, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a tall tale to you, okay? And then you'll notice up on the board that there's some questions. So we're going to be working, like I said, on our comprehension skills, and you can read through those before I read the tall tale, and then we'll answer the questions as a class together when we're finished. Okay, so here's the tall tale. Remember, kind of be getting some ideas. It doesn't have to obviously be exactly like this, but I want you guys to kind of start thinking. Here's an examples. I'll also give you a website that you can go on and look at other tall tales to get more ideas if you're having trouble and the creative juices aren't flowing. Okay. My wife Jill and I were driving home from a friend's party late one evening in early May. It was a beautiful night with a full moon. We were laughing and discussing the party when the engine started to cough and the emergency light went on. We had just reached a railroad crossing where Villaman Road becomes Shane Road. According to local legend, this was a place where a school bus full of children was stalled on the tracks. Everyone on board the bus had been killed by the oncoming freight train. The ghosts of the children are reported to haunt this intersection and were said to protect people from danger. Not wanting to repeat a train crash, I hit the gas pedal, trying to get our car safely across the tracks before it broke down completely. But the dad-blamed car wouldn't cooperate. It stalled dead center on the railroad tracks. As if that weren't enough, the railroad signal started flashing and a bright light appeared a little ways down the track, bearing down fast on our car. I turned the key in and hit the gas pedal, trying to get the car started. "Hurry up, Jim, the train's coming," my wife urged as I didn't hear the whistling blowing a warning. I broke into a sweat and tried the engine again. Nothing. "We've got to get out," I shouted to my wife, reaching for the door handle. "I can't," Jill shouted desperately. She was struggling with her seatbelt. We'd been having trouble with it recently. She'd been stuck more than once, and I'd had to help get it undone. I threw myself across the stick shift and fought with the reluctant seatbelt. My hands were shaking, and sweat poured down my body as I felt the rumble of the approaching train. It had seen us and was whistling sharply. I raised a quick glance over my shoulder. The engineer was trying to slow down, but it was too close before he could stop and hit us. I redoubled my efforts. Suddenly the car was given a sharp shove from behind. Jill and I both gasped when I fell into her lap as the car started to roll forward. Slowly at first, then gaining speed. The back end cleared the tracks just a second before the train roared past. As the car rolled to a stop on the far side of the tracks, the engineer stuck his head out the window of the engine and waved a fist at us, doubtlessly shouting something nasty at us for scaring him. That was close," Jill gasped and struggled upright. "How did you get the car moving?" "I didn't. Someone just helped us move it." I jumped out of the door on the driver's side of the car and ran back to the tracks to thank our rescuer. In the bright moonlight, I searched the area, looking for a person who pushed our car out of the path of the train. There was no one there. I called out several times, but no one answered. After a few minutes struggle with her seatbelt, Jill finally freed herself and joined me. "Where is he?" she asked. "There's no one here," I replied, puzzled. "Maybe he is just shy about being thanked," Jill said. She raised her voice. "Thank you, whoever you are," she called. The wind picked up a little, swirling around us, patting our hair on our shoulders, and like the soft touch of a child's hand. I shivered and hugged my wife tightly to me. We had almost died tonight, and I was grateful to be alive. "Yes, thank you," I repeated loudly to my mystery rescuer. As we turned back to our stalled vehicle, I pulled out my cell phone, ready to call for a tow truck. Beside me, Jill stopped suddenly, staring at the back of our car. "Jim, look!" she gasped. I stared at our vehicle. Scattered in several places across the back of our car were several glowing handprints. They were small handprints, the kind that adorn the walls of elementary schools all over the country. I started shaking as I realized the truth. Our car had been pushed off the tracks by the ghosts of the school children killed at this location. The wind swept around us again, and I thought I heard the echo of childish voices whispering, "You're welcome," as it patted our shoulders and arms. Then the wind died down and the handprints faded from the back of the car. Jill and I clung together for a moment in terror and delight. Finally, I released her, and she got into her car while I called the local garage to come give us a tow home. Okay, so that's an example of a tall tale. Now, if you look up at the board, there's some questions that I want to go over that we're going to answer as a class. There's 5 of them. So read through those questions, and then you can discuss with the person sitting next to you if you're having trouble, and then we'll talk about them as a class. Okay, so at this point, we would go through, we would answer the questions, any question that they had, and then I would point them in the right direction of starting to write their tall tale. If they're having trouble, there's a website, there's numerous websites that they can go to get examples of tall tales, to get more examples to get them going. And they would have the rest of the time today to write the tall tale and then come up with questions, and they would have actually a few more days to work on it outside of class or any time in class. The next few days would be spent reading tall tales that were written by someone else that have been published or that are famous, that the kids will be working with, and they'll be doing journal entries about it. And then the last day will be presenting. Before the last day will be switching with a partner their own tall tales, and then answering the questions. And then the last day would be presenting 2 to 3 minutes presenting their tall tales. Okay, and then, yeah, that's it.